Replacing rear struts on a 1992 Honda Civic. Do this at your own risk.
Alright, so there are two bolts here. There's one that actually holds a shock on, and then there's one that holds this bar on right here. We're gonna actually take off both because we need to actually drop that bar down so we can have enough clearance to take out the shock. There are also two more bolts which is up above, which are actually inside the cab, and we'll show you where those are. I'm gonna take off this one first. I'm gonna loosen this one up a little bit too. To worry about the nuts on the other side. They're usually welded to the frame. I'm just gonna throw it underneath and just add just a small bit of weight to it so that this bolt will loosen up. This bolt will come all the way out. This one also has a point on the end because when we take out that bolt, they'll look very similar. Now I'm gonna loosen up the jack, which will now drop down. And now these two pieces will come apart like that. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up into the inside. So in this part here, there's a cap that you just pull off, another one that you pull off, and then you have the two bolts down there. They're kind of hard to see and they're on the farther ends of the middle bolt. You don't want to loosen up the middle bolt. The middle bolt holds everything together. Or you want to take the nuts all the way off. Because we left that bottom bolt on, this shock won't fall down. The bolt's kind of hard to get out, so I just threw a loose nut up there just to hold that top in a little bit. Alright, now that I got that off, now the shock should come out really easily. So just pull it down, slide that up, slide it on out like this. Now here's the strut. Now we'll move over to the bench. When you're replacing this, there is a left one and there is a right one. And it doesn't look like there's a left one and a right one, but they are. And if you look right here, there's a notch in this one and there's a notch in this one. So those two notches, those should line up. Now these bolts on this particular strut is on the other end. So it's actually opposite. That's not really a big deal. You can just still tighten them down. As long as these are lined up. Take your strut compressor tool. You can put one on one end and then the other on the other end. A little bit weird like this, it kind of sideways, but I've learned that I can take and put the other one on. When the other one goes on, the other one will also want to rotate sideways like this. But this is always the scary part of the whole thing, is putting on this shock. So what I'm doing is I'm just making sure that this shock is in the same alignment, and then you don't want to mess with the spring when you pull it out because the spring can twist around and get your shock all twisted and won't fit in right. So I'm just making sure these are in line with this. So you just stick an Allen that way. I press it down on the table and twist it like this to break it loose, and then it's simple from there. You just take it on off. So now that you have the bolt off, there's a washer here. And make sure you pay attention to which way these washers go. There's going to be several more. You don't want to put them on wrong. So this now middle piece will slide out like this, and there's two pieces here. Careful with this washer too, but it all slides out like that. This piece comes off. This is going to go on your new one. So this one actually fits on like this. This washer has like an in groove, and so on your new shock you take your new bolt off. So the bushing goes on, and then this washer goes on. It has like an indent. It fits in this indent in here, so it kind of like seats in there nice. And then your new one is going to go in. It's going to go into this middle chamber here. It's going to slide out. If I can get it in there correctly. There it is. Okay, like that. Then you have a washer that goes in between these two. It fits in there like this. And then this fits on like this through this end. Then this piece goes on like that. And then your bolt goes on like that. And I'm going to go to the car. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the strut just by eyeballing it here. So my bolts face somewhere around there, up there. So this would go in like this, up in those bolts there, about lined like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up to this piece down here, which is straight with the car. And then I'm going to take these bolts and I'm going to line them up with the holes up there. And if all you really need to do is eyeball it. What I'm looking for now is I'm looking to make sure that the spring sets correctly in this. It has like a notch correct there. So we bring this back. So right now I'm going to tighten down the middle bolt. Next you just undo these things. If you have a drill, this works a lot faster. We're going to put our shock in. These shocks are lined up right. This will then pull down. And that's a line enough we can get it to fit. It's not perfect. Alright, so I'm just gonna put on the top bolts here, and I'm just gonna finger tighten them. These in particular shocks we got, the nut is on the wrong end, well it's on the other end, and so the bolt actually goes through this way. You'll notice I wasn't perfect on my alignment. This shock is actually, it's actually spun around a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take and I'm gonna force it around with my hand, put it in, and then tighten this bolt down. The shock will eventually, shock these springs, the spring is what is holding it. It'll eventually set correctly in there. So it's not too big of a deal if you get them a little bit off. I'm not gonna tighten this bolt all the way, but I'm gonna get it majority of the way in. They're a little bit longer, because you won't be able to fit this in correctly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a jack underneath. And you wanna be careful with this jack, because you don't wanna lift up your main jack. So you just wanna jack this up just barely enough you can get that bolt in. So we're just gonna go up. Okay, so then this goes in here like this, sort of loose, not tight all the way yet. Now tighten all the bolts, and we're done. I'm just gonna put the cap back on, throw this back on, just like that. The tire then goes back on, and your shock is installed.